Alabama single mother Felicia Scott is given a second chance at happily ever after when a not-so-secret admirer from her past re-enters her life.
Fred was her meal ticket, and she knew that if she could keep him happy, that her and the boys would have a roof over their heads.
But Felicia's dream to give her man the ultimate gift becomes another woman's worst nightmare.
Fred wanted a child more than anything else in the world.
She wanted to make Fred happy. She was willing to do whatever she could do to keep him.
And later in Tampa, Florida, teenage temptress Victoria Jackson turns forbidden love into a family affair.
If I had known that Jeffrey was having an affair with my sister, I would have not married him.
But when it looks like she's soon to be out of the picture, it's another man who forces Victoria to make a deadly decision.
Shoot him, Vicky, shoot him.
He is pleading for his life.
Baby, don't do it!
Pleading with Victoria not to shoot him.
He started yelling, Vicky, do it, Vicky, do it.
It was just surprising that a young person like that would get themselves involved in such a violent incident.
There are hundreds of thousands of women in prison at any given time in the U.S. These are the true stories of women who committed heinous crimes in the name of love. For my man. Growing up in a single-parent home in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, has little Felicia Scott dreaming of one day having a family of her own.
Felicia Scott, she was a normal kid, grew up in a middle-class family, really had no problems.
Her father just wasn't in the picture and took no part in raising her. That job was handled by her mother and her grandmother.
When some children grow up in a single-parent home, they tend to look at how other kids are living, especially those with an intact family. So they start having these sorts of utopian ideas as to what that ideal family life really should be.
Before the ink has time to dry on her diploma, Felicia is already taking the first step toward having a perfect family when she dives into marriage with her high school sweetheart.
Felicia hastily married. She thought she was ready to be a wife and a mother. She wasn't.
But after 5 years of marriage and 2 kids, Felicia's overbearing attitude drives her husband away.
Felicia's personality was very dominating. In fact, it poisoned the relationship. Felicia's husband just couldn't take it anymore.
When she divorced, she didn't realize what a burden it would be to raise 2 little boys all on her own.
By the age of 23, Felicia is the living embodiment of everything she never wanted. A perpetually broke single mother barely able to raise her sons.
She worked odd jobs, and she knew desperately that she wanted to be with someone, find a husband, if possible, to help her with her children.
After several lonely and financially difficult years, a light at the end of the tunnel arrives. When Felicia runs into Fred Polian, a one-time admirer from her past.
Fred and Felicia actually knew each other from back in the day. So when they saw each other, they were really sort of reconnecting.
Felicia always suspected the older man had a crush on her. And now, at the age of 27, she's more than happy to give Fred a chance. Before long, Fred and Felicia start spending every day together.
Fred was an ideal match for Felicia because he was kind of reserved. He was not assertive at all. And this fit with what Felicia wanted in a man very well.
Fred worked at a place for troubled kids, and he had a real fondness toward helping kids.
Life with Fred is already proving to be the kind of relationship Felicia's been longing for her whole life. In their first year of dating, Felicia and Fred move in together, and Fred wants to take the relationship to the next level. He wants Felicia to have his baby.
Fred wanted to make a mark in his life, and he thought having a child, a daughter or son, would be something that would be special and hold him in high esteem.
The pressure is on for Felicia to get pregnant.
You know, in her mind, I think she felt like she needed to be able to have a child in order to keep Fred, because it was such a priority in his life.
The two waste little time trying.
Fred couldn't keep his hands off of her. He was all over her every day.
Nearly every day, Fred asked Felicia, "Are you pregnant yet?" She felt the pressure because every time he asked that question, what she heard was, "You're about to be on your own again."
A month later, Felicia approaches Fred and tells him what he's been dying to hear.
You're gonna be a father. Felicia told Fred that she was pregnant. This was the news he had been waiting for. He was so happy. He couldn't have asked for anything else.
But Fred will soon learn that there's nothing delicate about Felicia. And the only thing she's carrying is a deep, dark secret.
She was so determined to keep her man that she would do anything to uphold or keep this crazy and sick fantasy.
The desperate person does this, a person who feels like they have no other options.
One year into their relationship, 28-year-old Felicia Scott gives her live-in boyfriend, Fred Polian, the ultimate gift when she tells him she's expecting his baby in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Felicia knew that part of the bargain for getting Fred to take care of her was that she had to give him a baby.
When Fred heard the news about her pregnancy, he was speechless. He was so excited.
But Fred's excitement will be short-lived if he ever finds out Felicia's secret.
Felicia had had a hysterectomy earlier in her life, so she knew from that point forward, she could not have a child.
But Felicia needs to find a way to keep her pregnancy lie going.
Come in.
And when an opportunity presents itself in the form of her boy's babysitter, 17-year-old Carithia Curry, she jumps on it.
Carithia was babysitting Felicia's two boys.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
And Carithia confided in Felicia
I'm pregnant.
about her pregnancy.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. Carithia was a sweet young girl. She was 17 years old. She was somewhat naive.
Let me look at you.
She lived in the same neighborhood as Felicia. Now that Felicia knew Carithia was pregnant, she could match the timing of her fake pregnancy with Carithia's real one.
Felicia wastes no time setting her devious plan in motion.
Felicia told people that she was having morning sickness. She didn't wear maternity clothes. She didn't swell up.
She talked about, you know, the fact that she didn't have a big belly, but that she carried her weight in her behind. Fred was either the dumbest person for not realizing she wasn't pregnant, or he was the smartest person for helping her cover it up.
Fred never had a child before, so he didn't know what to expect with respect to a pregnancy. So he just went along with whatever was happening at the time.
The clock is ticking. Felicia has less than 9 months to deliver Fred a baby.
Where are the boys?
Oh, they're at one of their friends' house just playing. I really just want to be able to spend time with you.
Okay.
So how's she doing?
The now 29-year-old spends months playing the role of the naive teenager's best friend.
She feels like she's gonna be big.
Felicia started spending a lot of time with Carithia. They shared stories together about babies, about having a new baby, what the experience would be like, sharing food stories, things of that nature. They were inseparable.
And you don't think she's gonna come earlier? Because she seems like she might be ready soon. I'm so happy for you. I really am.
Felicia knows when the day arrives, she only has one shot to get it right. So she spends the next 7 months doing her homework to prepare for a gruesome abduction.
Felicia went to a local health clinic to get brochures about C-sections and having home deliveries.
Felicia was committed to giving Fred what he wanted, this baby. She was determined. She had the eye of the tiger. There was just no turning back.
With Carithia at 9 months and her due date rapidly approaching, A by now impatient Felicia decides it's time to give Fred the baby he's always longed for. One day after shopping with Carithia and her mother, Felicia invites the expectant teen over to her place.
Felicia and Carithia grabbed some pizza and headed home to hang out at Felicia's apartment.
Oh, I'm sorry, Carolyn. This is for expected mothers only. Okay. All right.
Felicia waits patiently for just the right moment to pounce on the unsuspecting mom-to-be.
It's an extreme plan, but she would do practically anything to please her man.
And later, in Tampa, Florida, Victoria Jackson must make a deadly decision between her married lover and her boyfriend of 2 months.
He is still bound with the shoestrings in front of his body. They tell him to get in the van. Victoria gets into the driver's seat. They pull to the side of the road, and now she's holding the gun.
Victoria wasn't willing to give up the relationship, even if it meant armed robbery, murder, and kidnapping.
In order to convince everyone she was pregnant, Felicia claimed to have cravings, the pickles and ice cream, and she looked at the exotic varieties, like her craving for laundry detergent called Pica.
In Tuscaloosa, Alabama, after almost 9 months of waiting, 17-year-old Carithia Curry is all that stands in the way of 29-year-old Felicia Scott's dream of giving her man the one thing he wants most, a baby.
Felicia planned to fake her pregnancy until Carithia was 9 months pregnant.
With her boys upstairs sound asleep, and Fred working late at the home for troubled kids, Felicia knows it's now or never.
She was cold, calculating, brutal.
It was a surprise attack. Felicia shot Carithia in the back of the head. Her body dropped and fell directly to the ground.
Carithia's down, so Felicia turns her attention to delivering the baby.
Felicia's so determined in what she's doing that she's throwing caution to the wind. She's on autopilot. She's a robot. She's separating her emotions and her feelings from actually what she is doing, this heinous crime.
Felicia can't make a mistake or she will never be able to please Fred, and this is all for him. It's time to put all she's learned about C-sections to work.
Felicia grabbed a razor blade and she cut Carithia from her neck down to her groin. She had only 7 minutes or so before that baby could go critical because of lack of oxygen. So she was moving as quickly as she could. Then suddenly, things went wrong.
While Felicia was cutting Carithia's abdomen open, she realized that Carithia was still alive. Felicia had to do something, and what she did was horrific. She shot Carithia again in the head. As Carithia bled out, Felicia continued the home C-section.
With the newborn finally in her arms, Felicia basks in the glow of success of her sinister scheme.
The baby survived the delivery. She was a healthy baby girl, breathing on her own without any complications.
Fred's due home from work at any minute, so Felicia rushes to clean the bloody scene and get rid of the body.
Felicia was on her hands and knees, cleaning up all the blood, scrubbing the floors, and throwing everything in the trash.
Carithia's body was placed inside a green garbage can. The top was put on it and it was sealed up with duct tape.
Felicia drags the garbage can out of the house and puts it in the trunk of her car, only moments before Fred comes home.
Fred, it happened.
Fred couldn't believe his eyes. He thought it was odd, but he didn't question it. He was just happy to see his new baby girl. And he just melted.
When Felicia saw that Fred was holding that baby, for her, her prayers had been answered, all of the heinous actions were worth it. She was a mother to this child for Fred, and mission accomplished. She was in nirvana.
His reaction leaves no doubt in Felicia's mind that she's done the right thing. But there's still something she needs to take care of.
Felicia pointed out to Fred that there were lots of bloody towels and sheets that needed to be disposed of, and they were in the trash can. And she wanted him to take that out right away and just get rid of it.
Happy to do anything for the woman who's just given birth to his daughter, Fred dutifully follows Felicia's instructions and dumps the trash bin in a ravine 50 miles away.
Fred never asked any questions about it, but he took the trash can out of the trunk of the car and let it roll down the ravine.
Fred didn't have any reason not to trust Felicia. Then everything she did was pretty much perfect, and I assert that he really wanted to believe.
With the evidence disposed of, Felicia focuses on Fred and their new baby, who they name Kiyomi. But in less than 48 hours, her perfect family will start to fall apart.
Carithia's mother called the police and was reporting her child was missing and had every reason to believe that Felicia Scott had something to do with it.
She tells them how the three went shopping, and then Felicia and Carithia split off for dinner at Felicia's.
The only information she could give police was that the last person she saw her daughter with was Felicia.
2 days later, with Fred at work, the police pay Felicia a visit.
Felicia Scott?
Yes.
What were the police?
She answers the door, cradling a newborn.
She's mine. It was a miraculous home delivery.
Oh, wow, okay. Okay, so have you been to the hospital?
She told us that she had a at-home birth at her sister's, which would have been in Birmingham.
She's only a few days old.
At this point, she produced paperwork that showed she had been, in fact, to Cooper Green Hospital.
Are you familiar with Carithia?
Felicia doesn't miss a beat when asked about Carithia Curry's whereabouts.
You know Carithia?
I know Carithia, but she and her mother fought a lot. Carithia probably ran off again.
Felicia said it was very possible that Carithia had just run away because of her unhappy home life.
On the way back to the station, Detective Hearing calls around to check out her story.
They decided to call the Tuscaloosa Health Department. Once they got in touch with the health department, they realized that Felicia had actually had a hysterectomy.
At that point, it became real. We realized that we needed to locate Felicia immediately because obviously this wasn't her baby.
Within 24 hours, detectives trace Felicia to her father's home in Norcross, Georgia.
Went inside the residence where I saw Felicia Scott laying on the couch with the baby on her chest.
Got the baby.
Why are you taking my baby? I didn't do anything.
Down on the ground.
Felicia stated to me that Carithia had given her that baby, that it was Carithia's baby, but that Carithia didn't want it, wanted her to have it, and that she gave her that baby and that she left that night just walking away.
Felicia felt that everything that she had done was worth it. She was okay with it. In her mind, because of love, that trumped her crime.
Investigators have no way of connecting Felicia to Carithia's murder without a body, so she's released on bail. But 2 months later, Carithia's body is discovered at the bottom of a ravine near Felicia's sister's house. That same day, Felicia is arrested and charged for Carithia's murder.
Felicia Scott never admitted to killing Carithia Curry and never admitted to kidnapping the child.
Fred insists he had no knowledge of what was in the trash can. But when he admits to dumping it, he's arrested for kidnapping a minor and is sentenced to 20 years in prison. 2 years later, a jury convicts Felicia of first-degree murder. she's sentenced to life with no possibility of parole.
In her own twisted mind, with her own narcissistic needs, Felicia thought that she deserved to have that baby. Anything in order to find pure happiness with Fred.
In the end, Felicia loses her man and the baby she desperately wanted to give him.
I believe Felicia faked her pregnancy to keep Fred. Plain and simple. I think that she knew that Fred wanted a child. I think she was in fear that if he knew she couldn't have a child, that he would go find someone that could.
The fact that someone would go through something like this for a man is absolutely ridiculous.
How does Felicia live with it afterwards? It's very simple. Felicia is incapable of caring about anyone but Felicia.
Felicia Scott took extreme measures to give her man a child, but she isn't the only woman willing to go to unspeakable lengths in the name of love. In Tampa, Florida, Victoria Jackson's involvement in a sordid love affair pushes her to commit the ultimate act of betrayal for her man. At the age of 16, Victoria Jackson is still trying to cope with the suicide of her father 1 year earlier, much to the heartbreak of her older sister, Crystal.
We lost our father at Victoria's at the age of 15, and she took it very hard. She was an A student prior to that. Afterwards, she got into a little trouble hanging with the wrong people.
For Victoria to have such a close relationship with her father, and for him to be suddenly gone in that way, such a traumatic event in her life, would lead her to now look for another father figure.
Victoria's relentless search for love will drive her into the arms of two different men, a sinful situation that leads to deadly consequences.
Victoria found herself living between a man that was controlling her with his demanding demeanor and another man who controlled her through his finances. She's just a puppet.
In Tampa, Florida, 16-year-old Victoria Jackson comes out of a severe depression thanks to the new man in her life, 32-year-old Jeffrey Dampier.
By all accounts, Jeffrey was a pretty nice guy. But you're talking about a 32-year-old being involved with a 16-year-old that was Victoria's age at the time. So you're talking about a relationship that was wholly inappropriate and as well illegal.
Jeffrey Dampier was very sweet. He had this glow that would just make you just smile and laugh. And he had a very kind heart.
He bought Victoria lavish gifts. He bought Victoria a car. He paid for her schooling. He was very generous with his funds.
But not only is Jeffrey robbing the cradle, he's also engaged to another woman, Victoria's older sister, Crystal.
I met Jeffrey Dampier at Arkham skating rink in Chicago, Illinois. So he came up to the side of the rail of the skating rink and he said, "Wow, will you marry me?" I said, "This man must be crazy."
Jeffrey is a man with $1 million smile and an even bigger bank account.
Jeffrey and his ex-wife won the Illinois lottery and he won $20 million, in which they split it in half and got 10 and 10 apiece.
A jackpot which is being used not only to romance Crystal, but also her little sister.
The relationship started between the two after Jeffrey started dating Crystal and Victoria was brought into the mix, being that she was a sibling.
Victoria was involved in this triangle because it met many of her needs. She had a sugar daddy who took care of her financially, but most importantly, Jeff also played the role of being her father, the father who had tragically killed himself earlier.
If I knew that Jeffrey was having an affair with Victoria, I would have not married him, and I had no clue at all.
After only 1 year of living together, Crystal and Jeffrey get married. And for Crystal's family, it's like hitting a jackpot of their own.
Eventually, he started to support Crystal and her sisters, Victoria and Terry.
2 years into their marriage, the couple moves to Tampa, Florida, to escape the cold of Chicago, and Victoria tags along.
Shortly after moving down to Florida, Victoria moved down, and she stayed with us for about 4 months. I said, well, as long as you're being positive and doing something right for your life, certainly.
Victoria lives the high life, squeezing every penny out of her brother-in-law right under Crystal's nose.
Anything that she needed financially, he gave it to her. And the control that he had was the fact that he had money. And she knew if she needed something, she just had to make one phone call.
Soon, Victoria and Crystal aren't the only Jackson women benefiting from Jeffrey's Midas touch.
Jeffrey moved their sister, Terry, to Florida.
For the next 3 years, Jeffrey ponies up to Crystal's younger siblings' every need without complaint. And by all accounts, Crystal remains clueless about the affair. She's still Jeffrey's happy wife.
I did not know who she was seeing.
Honey, I'm home.
I really can't say that I seen any difference, but the household was running normally.
But Victoria eventually grows tired of playing second fiddle and gives Jeffrey an ultimatum.
Vicky was very naive when she thought that Jeffrey would leave his wife and marry her. This is classic textbook. Quite often, husbands rarely leave their wives for the mistresses. After all, a lot of them think, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free?
Tired of only being used for sex, Victoria tells Jeffrey she needs some space.
Jeffrey purchased Victoria an apartment. Victoria was trying to distance herself or wean herself away from Jeffrey. Jeffrey was paying for the apartment, so she was still under his control. He continued to control her through his funds.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Victoria rebels against Jeffrey by looking for other fish in the sea, and she is soon catching up with an old flame.
You haven't changed a bit.
Nathaniel Jackson.
Still know the exact things to say.
Victoria knew Nathaniel because they dated each other off and on for about 1.5 years when they both lived in Chicago.
Victoria never really lost touch when she moved to Florida, and they quickly jumped back into a routine of talking and flirting.
Yeah, I know. You should come see me.
The age difference between Nathaniel and Victoria was about 2 years.
She wanted more from somebody and wasn't getting everything she wanted from Jeffrey. He had several arrests for drug possession, for an aggravated assault, some other traffic charges. He had a lengthy criminal history from Illinois.
And Nathaniel's renewed interest in Victoria is no accident.
Nathaniel had some charges associated with money, and here he is now calling Victoria, who he knows is in a relationship with a man who is wealthy.
Nathaniel only has one thing on his mind, and he knows Victoria's lover is loaded, so he suggests the two move in together, and she gladly accepts.
Nathaniel was with Victoria not so much out of love, but because he knew that she had access to Jeffrey's money. So for him, it was about the Benjamins. For Victoria, she was just happy to have a man by her side, having that warm body to keep her company.
Any of the money that Victoria received from Jeffrey, they would spend it together. This was money being given to him by Jeff, so Nathaniel was basically being supported by him.
It doesn't take long before Jeffrey finds out about it. Blinded by jealousy, he threatens to cut Victoria off. Jeffrey then goes to his wife with his intention, and a made-up reason to go with it.
We had a conversation regarding giving, and it was more or less he was getting frustrated because everybody was asking, and he felt like the money bag at that time. I told him, don't give to my sisters. Don't give it to Victoria or Terry if they ask, unless it's life or death.
The sisters are less than pleased with the new arrangement, and they're not the only ones.
They were upset, but when Nathaniel found out about it, he was furious. If Jeffrey cut off Victoria, they cut him off. That was not going to fly.
Now Victoria has to make a choice to stand by her man. But which one will it be? She's about to be forced into a deadly show of loyalty that will cost one of her men his life.
He is pleading for his life, pleading with Victoria not to shoot him, not to shoot him.
In Tampa, Florida, 5 years into their illicit affair, 23-year-old Victoria Jackson's sugar daddy and brother-in-law cuts her off when he finds out about her live-in boyfriend, Nathaniel Jackson.
If Jeffrey cut off Victoria, they cut him off. And Nathaniel was not going to live with that. That was not going to fly.
Call him up and get him over here.
Victoria's loyalty now lies with Nathaniel. If Victoria can't have Jeffrey's love, then she and Nathaniel will have his money. The plot is set into motion.
Good. You always make time for me. Cannot wait to see you. See you soon.
Jerry was at the apartment.
All right. Bye.
And Victoria called Jeffrey and asked him to come over to the house to drop off some boxing tickets.
Victoria leads Jeffrey into the kitchen where Nathaniel attacks. Hearing the commotion, Victoria's sister, Terry, comes out to see what's going on.
They started demanding money, searching his pockets. It's a pretty scary situation.
Jeffrey was carrying a wad of cash, so they took about $7 grand off of him.
Victoria looks on as Nathaniel threatens Jeffrey.
I need you to find me more money or I'm gonna shoot you.
Victoria is caught between her lover and her boyfriend. Victoria disassociated herself from the moment.
Jeffrey has been relieved of his cash, but Nathaniel isn't finished with him yet.
Jeffrey was tied up and they walked him down to his van.
Nathaniel forces the sisters and Jeffrey into the van and leads them on a ride to hell.
Victoria was ordered to drive.
Drive now. Hurry up.
It's quite possible that one of the reasons that Victoria took some sort of revenge against Jeffrey was that he had promised to marry her and instead appeared to be leading her on. So when Nathaniel came up with his plan of robbing Jeffrey, Victoria went along with it.
So when Nathaniel orders Victoria to drive to the location of one of his business ventures where he plans to empty the safe, she complies. But Jeffrey throws a wrench into Nathaniel's scheme.
I don't have any money in the safe in the shop.
Jeffrey told them that there was no money in the safe. Nathaniel got upset.
Pull over now. Pull over!
Victoria was listening to Nathaniel. Whatever Nathaniel tells her, she does it.
And Nathaniel is about to tell her to do the unthinkable.
Shoot him. Shoot him, Vicky, shoot him.
Nathaniel now hands the gun to Victoria and tells her to hold the gun on Jeffrey.
Come on!
Nathaniel turns the stereo up in the van and then starts to yell at Victoria.
Shoot him!
Vicky, shoot him, repeats himself over and over again.
Shoot him!
At this moment, one can only imagine what was all going through Victoria's head.
Do it!
Victoria's boyfriend was demanding her to put a bullet in her lover's head.
Victoria has a choice to make for her man.
Come on, baby.
Whichever that may be.
Now!
Think about this.
Victoria then grasps the gun with both hands.
She put both her hands on the gun, closed her eyes, turned away, and fired.
Not only did Jeffrey vow to leave Crystal, he actually proposed marriage to Victoria.
He had promised that he would leave his wife, Crystal, to marry Victoria, and he didn't deliver. And that left her feeling very angry, very disappointed, not just in Jeff, but herself.
It's a hot summer night in Tampa, Florida, and Victoria Jackson has just been ordered by one man she loves
Shoot him.
to take the life of another.
Come on, baby.
This whole incident was supposed to simply be a robbery.
At Nathaniel's command, Victoria closes her eyes and makes a deadly choice.
Victoria fired a bullet right into the back of Jeffrey's head.
Jeffrey dies instantly.
Victoria faced a horrible decision. She could have stopped this at any moment. She had that option, but instead, she decided to follow the commands of her boyfriend.
After Victoria shot Jeffrey, all three jumped out and ran separate ways.
At 9:30 p.m., a neighbor discovers the car still running with Jeffrey's dead body inside and calls 911.
911, what's your emergency?
We have a homicide. A van has been abandoned here, like literally just a few minutes ago. And neighbor saw 3 kids get out of the car and take off, and there is a dead body in the car. It's still running.
Deputies from the Tampa Police Department respond to the scene and are alerted to a suspicious woman in the area.
Terry is actually found along the main roadway, waving cars down, trying to get a ride. One of the deputies were able to detain her for further questioning.
Victoria and Nathaniel managed to get a cab to take them to Jacksonville, 170 miles northeast of Tampa. Back at the station, Terry tells police what happened and says she's a victim.
Hurry up, quick. Shoot him, Victor.
She's in the back of the van, has no idea what's going on. She got kidnapped too. We put warrants out for the arrest for Nathaniel and Victoria. At this point, we notified the media, and their story was highlighted on several news outlets in the area.
2 days later, Victoria and Nathaniel are arrested without incident at the home of a friend in Jacksonville.
Nathaniel had $1,500 of the money that he took from Jeffrey, and the money had bloodstains on it.
Once in custody, Victoria is stunned to learn that the man she killed her lover for is selling her out.
You might want to ask his girlfriend, Victoria.
Your boyfriend told us that it was your idea to rob him and to also shoot him.
I think that Victoria thought that Nathaniel would have protected her, and it all would have been well.
When police tell Victoria Nathaniel's setting her up to take the fall, she gives a full confession of what happened.
I was told earlier today to call him to see if I can get him to come over.
Okay. And who told you to do that?
Nathaniel Jackson.
Okay. And why did he want him to come over?
To get some money from him, rob him. He started yelling, Vicky, do it, Vicky, do it. And I just closed my eyes and turned my head and pulled the trigger.
When police allow Victoria to confront Nathaniel, he breaks down and confesses to everything.
So be it. So be it.
A few hours later, police deliver the devastating news to Jeffrey's wife, Crystal.
They come in. They told me that he was shot and killed.
I'm sorry.
No. At the time, I lost it. And the kids heard me, and then they came out, so the house got up in a roar.
Already devastated, Crystal is dealt one more cruel blow when she's told the identity of her husband's murderer.
My first thoughts when I found out Victoria was involved, I was taken back. I was really confused. How could you kill someone who you were benefiting from? So I don't understand. How could you? So, no.
Crystal's suffering increases when she finds out about the affair.
I was really shocked. They started naming items, a ring, places where they supposed to went to. I just lost it because I didn't see it.
He filled a void in her life, and that need superseded the loyalty that she should have had to her sister.
Police charge Victoria and Nathaniel with the murder and kidnapping of Jeffrey Dampier, and a jury shows no mercy.
Victoria was given 3 life sentences for kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, and Nathaniel was convicted of the same.
Jeffrey really took the best years of her life, the early years, the formative years of her life. So when Nathaniel came along and offered a chance of revenge against Jeff, well, Victoria jumped at it because finally she could tell him and act out her anger with Jeff.
Crystal's sister Terry has never been charged with the crime. Destined to die behind bars, Victoria's days are a constant reminder of her brutal betrayal of one love for another.
I don't know if she's truly forgiven herself for what she's done, but I do know that she's facing it every day in a decision and a choice that she made.
So for Victoria, there was a lot of emotion, a lot of conflict, perhaps some guilt, some anger. All of those things all boiled into one. And in this case, it led to the death of Jeffrey.
I still talk to my sister because I don't want to have a cold heart. I don't want to be holding on to that grudge. So I let go. And I still have pictures of my late husband, and I still think of him. But I believe that I will get my chance to see him again.